Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Pamela's Healing Journey, Trauma to Triumph, where we talk about how to heal and overcome trauma and learn to live your best life, free of your trauma. Okay, so today we're going to delve into something that has been a huge factor in my life. We're going to be talking about breaking generational cycles, generational trauma cycles, essentially. So if you've ever asked, why am I the way I am? Why does this pain keep repeating in my family? And can I really be the one to break the cycle? The answer is yes. Just you asking those questions tells me that you've already started the process of breaking the cycle. You, my friend, are a cycle breaker, and that's why this video found you. So let's get into it. So let's first start off by defining what generational trauma really is. So generational trauma is the pain, patterns, and survival responses that get passed down, not just through stories, but through behaviors, nervous systems, and even silence. So it gets passed down from one generation to the family, and that generation of the family will live and raise their children the same way that they did, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And that trauma will continue to cycle down until somebody stands up, does the hard work, and breaks the cycle. I believe that's you, my friend, and I believe that's why you're here. So, generational trauma can look like this. The mother who couldn't show affection because no one ever showed her affection. The shame your dad carried and gave to you without you even knowing. It could be anxiety, anger, or disassociation that lives in the body but didn't start with you. It's sort of like you didn't start the fire, but now you get to choose whether or not you let it keep burning or whether you work to put it out. All right, you know I'm a straight shooter, so I got to give it to you straight. The truth is, breaking cycles feels heavy because it is, right? You're not just healing your own wounds. You're confronting decades, and in some cases, centuries of pain, silence, and survival. So if it feels exhausting, it's because it is. But you're not broken, and you are brave. You are brave just for considering that you might want to break the cycle, because that's the first step to being a cycle breaker. So now we're going to get into how to start, what to do. All right, step number 1. You have to acknowledge its existence, right? We can't change what we don't acknowledge. And I know this sounds simple, right? But it's not. Start by asking yourself, what patterns in my family line feel like pain on repeat? Is it shame, emotional neglect, addiction, abuse, perfectionism, control, poverty? Name it. Once we name it, we can transform it. So just in that line right there, I can tell you pretty much all of those are part of my generational family cycles. And I'm still working on them, but I have done a lot of work on breaking them. The other reason I think that acknowledging the cycles and what the trauma is challenging is because no one in your family wants to talk about it. Right? They don't want to acknowledge it. Nobody wants to acknowledge the negative aspects of themselves, right? And so I know from my experience, like when I would talk about this generation, like when I would recognize generational trauma cycles and try to like discuss this or point it out with members of my family, it was always met with hostility. And my family members would become defensive, right? So I think it's something like we don't talk about. We just kind of like pretend and move forward. So acknowledging it is probably the hardest step. I'm going to say, for me it was. Okay, step number 2, regulate your nervous system. You cannot heal if you're in a constant state of panic. Healing does not happen while you're in survival mode. I think it's literally impossible. That's at least what I told myself, because I tried to heal for a lot of years in survival mode, And I was like, what's wrong? Blah, blah, blah. So today I choose to believe that you cannot heal when you are in survival mode. You can start the process, but you have to be able to find ways and times and opportunities to step out of that survival mode for just a few seconds in order to do some real deep healing work. All right, so how can you regulate your nervous system, right? Grounding yourself, breath work, a cool shower, like cold water, even putting your hands in cold water is enough. Walking, somatic tools, therapy if it's safe. So essentially, this is about finding ways and activities to bring yourself to the present moment that feel safe for yourself. And when your body feels safer, healing becomes possible. All right, number 3, feel to heal. You have to process through, you have to feel the emotions, right? Most of our lives, I feel society has directed us and taught us to be numb, to avoid negative feelings, and to stay strong and push through. But where true healing happens is when you allow yourself to feel the emotions and process through it. So crying the tears that no one else did, check. Screaming into a pillow, check. And if screaming into a pillow isn't enough for you, excuse me, I would take a bat to a chair. Yep, you heard me. I would take a bat to a chair because there was a lot of anger trapped up in here. And screaming into a pillow was great and fun and fine, but it was not enough for me. So yep, bat to a chair. Writing letters that you'll never send. Saying it wasn't okay and this isn't my fault. So that whole reinitiating a new self-dialogue. Feelings are how we release what our ancestors held on to. And because they held on to that, they passed it down to us. There's scientific proof to show you that genetically this is happening and on a spiritual level. Okay, number 4, create emotional boundaries. Breaking cycles doesn't mean fixing your whole family. And that's not your goal. You cannot fix other people. You can only fix yourself, and you can only stop the cycle from continuing. Now, other people in your family may start to see changes in you, and they may say, and it may inspire them to do their own healing work. But you cannot heal your family. So you need to get that out of your mind. You cannot do that. And because you can't heal your family, it means you need to learn how to set boundaries and protect your peace. Even if that means saying no, becoming silent, or in my case, I've walked away. You can still choose to love them and choose yourself. I love my family. I don't wish anything bad to them, but I don't want them in my life. And it may feel like a betrayal for them, and that's fine. But to me, this is a liberation of me. This is a liberation of what Pam needs. And so I hold those boundaries really firm. And let me tell you, they will try to tromp all over those boundaries, okay? I've been in this process for a little bit now, but just the other day, my husband got a text message from my mother asking if he could try to convince me to attend a family Easter dinner because Easter's coming up. Nope. Won't even consider it. I'm not willing to allow them and their brokenness to disrupt my peace, even if it's only for a 2-3 hour dinner. I'm not willing to do that anymore. I did it for years and I refuse to do it anymore. So you need to learn how to create emotional boundaries. And I'm not saying that you should cut your family out. Please, God, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that is what I needed to do for me. But boundaries are simple things of saying, I'm not going to go to that person's house because I don't like the environment or how it makes me feel. Boundaries can be like, you know what? I am going to miss every other family function because I still want to attend some. Boundaries are what you make them. They are up to you, and they are individually unique to your circumstances and what you need in order to keep yourself to feel safe. And do not apologize for your boundaries, okay? Boundaries are probably one of the biggest forms of self-care and self-love you can give yourself. Okay, finally, and number 5, tell a new story. Your life is not their blueprint, and you get to choose how you parent. I did. I decided when my oldest, who's 26, when he was 2, I walked into my therapist and said, you're probably going to call Children's Aid on me, but I cannot do to him what my mother did to me with the emotional and the verbal abuse. And so I got to choose. That day I walked in, I made a choice. I walked into my therapist with the fear that I was going to have child protective services involved in my life. And I was a young teen mom back in the day when young teen moms was not a thing. So there was always that fear. But I made a choice that day that I was not going to parent in the same way I was parented. You get to choose how you rest. I determine now what I accept, where I go, and when I say, I'm going to step back from this. You get to choose how you speak to yourself, which was huge for me. And this took me a long time. That internal self-dialogue was very dark for a lot of years. But I made a choice, again, to work on it through therapy, to say, I'm going to choose to speak to myself better. You get to choose how you love, grieve, forgive. That's you. That's up to you. Nobody else gets to choose that for you anymore. That's up to you. And remember, this is a process, right? You are transitioning between what was and what will be. All right, so I'm going to ask if you feel comfortable to drop a comment below and tell us, what cycle are you breaking? Let's name it together. For me, the very first cycle that I broke with the emotional and started working on was the emotional and verbal abuse from parent to child. That was the first and foremost one that I started working on. I'm still working on breaking generational trauma. And right now, if I was to name it, it would be breaking that responsibility that I supposedly have to my family and how they're allowed to treat me. That's the cycle I'm breaking right now. I do not owe them anything. It's hard, and I'm still working on it. So if you would be so kind as to share it in the comments, I would appreciate it. Lastly, if you could like, subscribe, and share this video, I also appreciate that. Your support helps this message reach other people that are looking to heal. And yeah, I'm wishing you a very blessed day.